Hi everyone, I'm Ed, here with Corey from the Treehouse and our friend Jordan. As many of you know, we're gearing up for the 2017 Splatoon 2 World Inkling Invitational. We've got teams from Japan, Europe, Australia, and the United States, all coming to Los Angeles to battle it out at E3. And so we thought this would be a good opportunity to take a moment and give a shout out to the global competitive Splatoon community, as well as highlight some areas for the players who probably enjoy the game, but maybe are still looking to make that next step into the competitive scene. And we're going to look at some new wrinkles that'll be on display in Splatoon 2 for the first time at the World Inkling Invitational. So Jordan, you are going to be our host and part of the commentary team for the tourney. And you know, we've run you through some a boot camp of sorts with Splatoon 2, and you've had some time with the ROM. And you know, I'm wondering sort of your thoughts on seeing how the same mechanics are sort of playing out from a caster's view.
Yeah, you really put me through the gauntlet here. And being hands-on with Splatoon 2, you find out that the foundation comes down to territory control. And you really get introduced to that during Turf War. And obviously, it's who can ink the most turf and you're victorious. But taking that core principle of territory control and then applying it to ranked matches is very important, because it's not just about filling up your special meter or trying to cover some ground, but you're really increasing your team's mobility while limiting what the other team can do as far as where they can move. And once you can check off that box of territory control, then you can move on to, say, filling up the Splat Zone, getting on the tower, grabbing the Rainmaker. And when you do that, you then force the other team to have to, number one, regain control of the territory, number two, gain control, and then finally, number three, get back to the objective for the ranked match. So really, that foundation of territory control is where everything starts in Splatoon 2.
I saw it really brought to the surface during the US Inkling Open. And you know, I saw some players really skillfully just inking areas before they would even get into position, you know? And they would also like find themselves those outs. They would worry about like that before they're considering where do I post up or how do I secure the objective. It's what's my positioning that'll be safe so I don't end up getting splatted and turn into this further liability to my team because I'm at the spawn point and not in the mix. But also, if things go wrong, how can I get out quickly?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you watch these elite players and you get some feedback. Before any of them go into a specific area, they already know how to get in and get out. And if there isn't anything that exists at that point, they make sure that they cover up enough territory where, okay, if I get underneath some fire, I can get out. Because as you said, if you get splatted, you become a huge liability for your team, because once you see a 4 versus 3 advantage or a 3 versus 1, that's when the other team makes that push to really change the game, especially in those ranked modes. And so making sure that you can stay alive and be able to help your team comes down to, again, territory control.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And it's really one of those things, I think, Corey, we've talked about it quite a bit, but like, I don't know of a whole lot of other games where like painting the area around you, that territory control mechanic really facilitates how you can travel and, you know, and hindering your opponent's ability to travel as well. It's really sort of unique to the game.
Yeah, I think it's made the game, certainly in the community, a little more accessible as well, because you don't, you know, it's not a game that you just have to be shooting, you know, for headshots and killing your opponents, right? You can be contributing just as much to your team just by creating that the territory.
So one of the new differences is in Splat Zone. And Splat Zone is about controlling a territory for more time than your opponent. Corey, if you want to talk a little bit about one of the small tweaks that's being done to Splat Zone.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the rules have not changed since the first Splatoon, but now when a team controls the Splat Zone and you start getting control of it, there's actually a minor UI change where you can see you getting back control of it. You're going to be able to see that you're making progress towards taking back the Splat Zone.
One of the other changes is in tower control. A little more in your face, this change with the checkpoints, but tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so as people remember from the first game, the goal of tower control is to ride this tower into your enemy base. Key change in Splatoon 2 is while riding that tower into the base, there are multiple checkpoints where the tower will actually stop for a countdown until it continues on. So we'll probably see a little bit more intensity of action towards that tower, you know, as it's getting through the checkpoint.
Well, also defensively too, you know, if you have a lead and you're trying to protect it at the end, you can camp essentially at one of those checkpoints because you know the opposing team is going to stop there for anywhere from 8 to 10 seconds, and that's when you can make your big defensive push.
Moving on to Rainmaker, my favorite mode. I think a lot of people love Rainmaker. It's so engaging, so interesting, and can get so intense at times. But there's also a small tweak to that as well.
Yeah, so of course the goal of Rainmaker is you're going to grab this Rainmaker, as they call it, in the middle of the map, and you have to carry it towards the enemy base. I think what makes it dynamic is that it's unpredictable. You don't have to go in any one direction to take it to the enemy base. Folks remember from the first Splatoon that the Rainmaker, when you're holding it, can kind of emit this tornado-like ink blast. And now in Splatoon 2, it's a little bit different where you'll be firing this burst instead of a tornado. It might change strategy just a little bit.